Hi, my name is Madison Rosenbaum, and today I will be giving my presentation entitled Fighting for the End, Soaring in Tennessee Walking Horses. So to start, today I will be covering what soaring is, previously implemented solutions for this problem, a new proposal for this problem, and the details that follow, as well as the feasibility and the significance of finding a solution. To get right into it, let's talk about what soaring is. So, the Humane Society of the United States formally defines soaring as the intentional infliction of pain to a horse's legs or hooves in order to force the horse to perform an artificial, exaggerated gait. What this means is that soaring is an abusive practice implemented by Tennessee walking horse show trainers. It's an incredibly detailed process that includes using caustic chemicals such as diesel fuel, mustard oil, or kerosene to the horse's legs. This will chemically burn them, and horses will be required to stand in place for hours or days or even weeks at a time. And then chains, as you can see over here on the right, and 4 to 5 inch shoes and nails will be nailed into their feet, and this will in turn create a pain that is excruciating and cause them to lift up their legs very high, as you can see over here in this video on the left. It creates a very bold, beautiful gait, and it has been highly successful in the show ring. Tennessee walking horses can be naturally trained to perform this gait on the left. However, many trainers have found this shortcut in training, which is where soaring has come in. By performing this form of maltreatment, this gait, as you can see on the left, is much easier to achieve, which is why it's called a shortcut in training. So how did soaring become popular? Soaring became popular in the 1950s and 60s at a show called the Big Lick Horse Show, which used to be a major Tennessee walking horse show. It was quick to set a trend because judges continued to reward this gait in the show ring, which are often referred to as big leg gaits. And it was due to this that trainers began to see that in order to achieve success and in order to place high on a judge's card, they needed to either naturally train their horses, which could take years, or they could participate in soaring, and it would take only a couple of days. Due to this, veterinarians were scared to speak up because of the hate they received for turning in individuals that were proven to participate in soaring. It is not uncommon for veterinarians to be bribed to stay silent either. So, previously implemented solutions for soaring are as follows. First, in 1970, the Horse Protection Act, or HPA Act, was passed by the United States Department of Agriculture. This act formally prohibited the showing, sale, auction, exhibition, or transport of soared horses. However, it was not successful because trainers found ways to cover up the usage of this practice. Examples of this would be using spray paint on the horse's legs to cover up the chemical burns, or even applying dirt to the fetlocks of the horse, which is just where those chains were, as you saw in the previous pictures. In 1976, the USDA did try to enact the Designated Qualified Persons Amendment, which basically employed professionals to inspect and overlooked horse shows to make sure that nobody was using soaring. However, it did not work, as I said before, because trainers found very detailed ways of covering up the usage of this practice. However, all hope was not lost, as the Prevent All Soaring Tactics, or PAST Act, was actually just recently passed this past year in July by the House of Representatives. This act has been highly more successful because it employed harsher penalties. Under the HPA Act, the only penalty for people who participated in soaring was a forced retirement from the show ring. However, because of the PAST Act, it is illegal and grounds for conviction. On top of this, it ended self-policing in the industry. So also before this, under the HPA Act, the Tennessee walking horse industry themselves were governing themselves and setting their own rules and regulation. However, now the USDA has full power and access over this industry and sets all of the rules and regulations. This has proven to be fairly successful. However, it is still so early in the process that soaring continues to stick around, which is where my new proposal plan comes in. So the main idea for this plan is to change the pre-existing social standards in the industry. This can be accomplished through educating the youth, who are the future of the industry, about the harmful effects of soaring, and also teach them to look for the signs and the significance of turning in individuals who participate in soaring. Also, this can be done through advertising the harmful effects of soaring to the public and those of the industry. By doing both of these things, we can gain more support for the anti-soaring movement. The details for this plan is as follows. First, advertisement. Advertisement and social media graphics can be used in order to raise support and concern for this industry, for this practice, both in the industry and outside of the industry. To give an example, the Real Cost campaign was implemented by the United States Food and Drug Administration, and it advertised the negative effects of nicotine usage, and it was due to this campaign that 587,000 youth ages from 11 to 19 were prevented from initiating smoking in the years, between February 2014 and November 2016. If we were to implement the same thing in the Tennessee walking horse industry, we could see major improvements and much more support and concern for stopping this practice. Next would be the education of youth show judges. If we teach future judges to be aware of the evidence of soaring and eliminate biased judges from the judges panel, trainers will start to see their entire income and their opportunity to make money is being taken away, and it'll be discouraging. This will therefore force them to naturally train their horses and stop using soaring, because they have to make their money somehow, their income. This is how they make their income. So if you take that away, then trainers are going to have to find new methods of natural training. This goes hand in hand with the education of youth veterinarians. Youth veterinarians, both in soaring cases and just in general animal abuse investigations, they have a huge voice. They can provide many sources of medical information that can serve as evidence in these investigations. So if we teach them the importance of using their voice and the significance of following their morals and their ethical code, as a veterinarian, more soaring cases will be reported and investigated, and more horses will be helped when they are suffering and recovering from soaring practices. Next, let's talk about the feasibility of this plan. So the requirements of this plan would be that individuals in this movement have to show dedication. Soaring has an overwhelming support system that has been accomplished for years, since the 1950s, as I said before. So major support and funding from animal welfare organizations such as the Humane Society of the United States and the American Association of Equine Practitioners, AAEP, that will have to be provided in order for this overwhelming support system for soaring to be knocked down a few levels. Also, the feasibility of this plan will require this major support as well. It may take a matter of years before proving successful, however, it can be made possible with resilience from these individuals. Anti-soaring individuals have to be passionate, or else this proposal plan will not be as feasible and will take even longer to be successful. Lastly, let's talk about the significance of finding a solution. So why should you support this movement, and why should others support this movement? Animals provide many resources for us, whether it's horses, cows, pigs, any other type of livestock. More need to start showing respect for their well-being. And animal maltreatment is an ongoing problem because not enough people show respect for their well-being. So if we rid of one form of abuse at a time, such as soaring, the well-being of animals can start to see an increase, and more of these animals will be treated with respect. In conclusion, soaring is a popularly used form of abuse. There have been several acts of legislation implemented to try and end soaring. However, they have not been very successful, which is why soaring can see a decrease through education and advertisement. And if we stand up with strong dedication and support, this form of maltreatment can see a decrease in the next coming years. These are my resources. Thank you for listening to my presentation.